Aloha，我是各类个Andermann，我是美国的电影的导演、电视的导演、好莱坞的导演。我住在夏威夷，我真的爱上海，我真的爱都上海人。I want to say aloha. Aloha 意思那个 hello 你好 ，aloha 意思 goodbye 再见 ，aloha 意思我爱你 ，aloha 的三个的意思。所以欢迎来夏威夷。I'm in Southern California as a child with my friend, and my parents come up and say, "What are you digging?" I said, "I'm digging a hole to China. I'm going to China someday." So here I was already knowing somehow I was going to go to China. I've always known I was going to go to China since I was a small child. I just had the idea. It was like God intended me to go to China or something. My experience with China goes back to the mid-1990s. I was sent to China by a very large telecommunications company that wanted to do a corporate film on why they were in China. Our liaison was Henry Kissinger, who everyone in China knows very well. And so we went out there with the executives and Kissinger and looked at the operation and started to shoot a lot of film about what was happening in China. But at the time, I fell in love with China. I decided I liked China more than my own home in Hawaii, I thought. And so I started to try and learn the language. I started meeting the people. Pretty soon I learned enough to be able to order food by myself, to travel by myself. To date, I've made over 25 trips to China. And at one point I had an office in Shanghai and Shijiahui. I really like what China's doing with its future, with its people. I think China's a country that's always on the move, always changing, and it's the brightest future for the world. But one of the things that comes up with learning about China is understanding China's history, it's understanding America's history. This is the first documentary I ever did that was on my own, not doing it for someone else, meaning someone didn't pay me to do it. I went out and raised the money to do it because I wanted to do it. This is Finding Sandalwood Mountain, 发现唐奇阳山, and this is the history of the Chinese in Hawaii. And in this history, we profile three different men. Chono Fong, who was the first Chinese millionaire in Hawaii. Sun Yat-sen, as they say in Cantonese. He's one of the greatest people I've ever read about or learned about. He's a very big hero to me personally, and someday I want to make a movie just about him. And this is Hiram Fong, Kun Lian Kang. He was the first U.S. Asian senator. And we profiled these three personalities and showed the values they had, interviewed Hawaii Chinese families and got their personal stories and related that to the history. And so Hawaii is very different. Across America at the time, Chinese would come here and they would literally have a very hard time, and became very successful here. Today, those people, those families are the ones that run and control the economy here in Hawaii. So it says a lot. The next film I did actually was about Shanghai. This is Shanghai Chu, Shanghai Exodus. This is a film of the entire story of Shanghai as a city, starting with the time of the Opium Wars and when the foreign territories were set up. And it talks about all the people that came and went, and talks about how the Caucasians came in fleeing to Shanghai. Some of them came in to start businesses. But by the time, the Russian Revolution and World War II came about, we had thousands and thousands of people pouring into Shanghai. Shanghai was the only free port in the world where you did not have to have a passport. And so all the living remnant people that were alive that we could find, that were born in Shanghai, grew up in Shanghai, had a history in Shanghai, we found them and put them in this film, and they tell their stories. And it's an amazing sense of stories. It's made me become a part of Shanghai. So, 我往上海老外. So it's an interesting story. It'll make you cry. It's really touching. Most of the people I've interviewed in both films have passed away the last few years. I got them in what we call the twilight years, the last years of their life. Very sad, but at least I got them on film before they died, So I think that, media can not only teach and educate, but it can also preserve history. It can also find people's stories that they've never had a chance to share with anybody, and we can all learn from that. And so that's what I've been doing. I think if I have an intellectual inspiration in Hawaii, it's just to be kind of one of the people that's a conduit between Hawaii and China. And it's to provide knowledge and information and education to both parties. It's to maintain an important bilateral relationship any way I can. I'm not trained as an educator, yet I end up doing so much education simply because I know a few things, I've learned a few things, and I want to pass them on. I'm not a historian, but somehow I end up telling history in a way that people really like it. They can relate to it. It's not boring, it's not dull, it becomes exciting. And so the intellectual part of it is just that I feel like I'm in Hawaii for a purpose, a greater purpose, and I think Hawaii has a big purpose for the world. And I really see Hawaii and Shanghai having a very strong connection in the future. I think there is a strong tie between Hawaii and China because I believe it was the destiny or the fate or the predetermination of all spiritual powers in the entire universe that say Hawaii and China are meant to have this connectivity. Now, it means people going back and forth, but it also means using modern technology. Right now there's enough quandai between China and Hawaii, we can do a lot of things, and so we should. The future is very bright when people can really communicate. And sometimes that's what it really takes, is just people just talking to each other, learning what each other's needs and problems are, and they come up with solutions that really work.